have so many TTPs, you will never be able to map them. Learn to operationalize MITRE or die.
What a nightmare, isn't it? I bet some of you must have experienced similar kind of thing sometime in your life, isn't it? Okay, so here is the deal. Let's say you are working on a threat intelligence report and you need to map some TTPs with MITRE framework, right? You can do it manually, but what if there are hundreds of such threat intel reports? You are screwed already, isn't it? So today is day 10 of my free DFIR course, and let's explore another FOSS tool which can do all the mapping for you. And also let's explore to learn how you can utilize Attack Navigator. In the meantime, let's also learn how to operationalize MITRE framework, right? So, is your coffee ready? Let's do it.
Okay, so this is the tool, guys. It's called as like Threat Report Attack Mapper, TRAM, right? So here is the deal. So you just insert your URL, you just give it as title and hit submit. That's all you might need to do. Okay, so let's see the tool in action. So this is particular threat intel, might be I was looking into it, or like whatever threat intel you might be working in. So this just released yesterday as a Linux shell script. So what I can do, I can simply grab this particular URL and let me refresh this page for you once, and I'll click the insert URL top here and I'll give it as Linux malware. Okay, and I'll hit simply submit. Now if you see, my submission is in the queue now. Okay, so the tool will actually, what will do, the tool will traverse whole the traffic and this particular web page for you, and it will go through each and every reading, every paragraph, whatever is written on this particular article, and it will try to map each and every TTPs for you. Like you might be doing it manually for this so many times, right? But we have a tool for it, and kudos to again the MITRE team for building it. Okay, so you see again, so let's do another thing. Well, the traversing is going on, so let's hit another sample so that we can just see what the hell is going on. Okay, so I'll paste it over here and I'll run it as like ransomware test. Okay, and I'll hit submit. Okay, so here is the deal. As you see, the queue is done now and queue is closed, and you see these two reports have been analyzed and it is required some manual intervention. Okay, so now if you open this particular source page, it will route you to the source from where the mapping has been done. Okay, so it will route you to the same page where actually we have taken the reference of the URL. Okay, now the interesting parts comes in now. So if you click the analyze section, you see this particular page, it's like it's the same page. Okay, now what they have done, they have particularly read all through the whole page for you, the whole URL for you, and they have mapped each and everything. So the highlight section ones are properly mapped. So now if you click one of the highlighted section, you see there is techniques found. So disabling security tools. Now this tool is all like works on some kind of database which is already built on the backend server from where we are running this TRAM tool. Now if you think that okay, this technique probably, let's say, then we outline how ATT&CK spots and mitigates against them. So the tool thinks that it's like disabling security. If you think that it is not a disabling security feature, so you can reject it, or if you think it's perfect, so you can accept it. So let's accept it, and you see it is disabling security tool, it will come in next. So like now disabling similar kind of thing, you see again all those things like changing attributes, all those things are coming into that. Now let's see if we can identify something else. Okay, so now I clicked here uninstall Yanjing, which is host security agent Tencent. Now you see disabling security tool and security software discovery, so both are coming here. Okay, so let's do one thing, let's accept this occur and let's reject this one. Okay, so now next time when you see this kind of tool or this kind of wording will come up in your article on in your threat intel resources, the tool won't map is as a like security disablement. Okay, so this is the main thing of this particular tool. It's awesome. Okay, so now let's see. So you can keep on doing that, and by the time, so this is a fresh run, and if you keep on running it like 1 month or something, so the tool will erupt and it will trigger on base of the database, and it will keep on updating its database, right? So it's awesome. Now you see, so I have shown you the Linux malware. Okay, now let's see the ransomware one. Okay, so now if you click here to this particular section, permission group discovery, awesome. So it's mapping, so you just accept it, and the cool thing is that you can just export it as PDF. Okay, so now when you export this as PDF, as you see, what it will do, it will first write out whatever the information was there in that URL and threat intel resource. If you scroll down here, you see the all TTPs, whatever the tool was matching, it has been given as a table format. Okay, so that means the name, identified sentence, all of the stuffs has been given. So we have only one TTPs identified for that particular URL, but that's fine. I think you got the idea, right? So the main thing is that if you are working on a threat intel project and you don't know like how many resources will be there, what are the things that you need to keep on running here and there by default, right? Doing all of your stuffs manual, right? But if you utilize this particular tool, your job is done. So you can just run this tool and then probably hit your all URLs, insert title, and by the way, you can choose the file depending on your needs as well. So this tool will do like you can create all of your URLs, all of your stuffs into one particular single CSV format, and you are done. So you just hit submit, and all those CSVs URL will be traversed by this particular tool. Okay, so another feature of the tool, if you open that particular traverse report, what is done for you by the tool, you can see you can export that particular mapping as a like JSON format. Now you can ask me, hey, why do I need to install it at JSON format? Wait, so the next thing is that I told you, right, we are gonna explore Attack Navigator as well. Now you see we have opened Attack Navigator. Now the exciting part of if you open from an existing layer and upload from computer, go to directly to the download section, and you see ransomware test is there. So you just open it and hit OK, and this mapping will come up as a graphical representation for you. So you can probably utilize both of your tool, maybe TRAM and Attack Navigator, to utilize your threat intelligence thing, and you can visualize it properly. Okay, so the thing is that you see permission groups has been highlighted, so that means in that particular report this particular sucker was identified. You see the comments is also given. So the comments is a particular thing where the tool is actually populating that whole URL pages and write-ups, right? So you see, so it's like coordination. Okay, so now if you want that, okay, so I think that for this particular ransomware page there was something else also. Okay, so let's say you have a search victim owned website. This particular sucker was also there, but it was not a confirmed one, right? So you click here, you come to this section, and you can mark it as right whatever you need. So you can follow a color coding option, and you can go around with it. So the beautiful tool about this tool that you can also like download this particular section as like different format. Okay, so let's download this particular thing as like JSON. So next time what you will be doing, so once you have uploaded this particular thing, and probably you can close this particular one because it's session dependent, next time you can simply come up and open this particular ransomware test.json, and this particular editable format will be already presented for you, right? So it's an awesome thing, right? And again, you can simply download it as like, you know, like an Excel format also. So like if you want to show your boss that, hey, I have worked on a TTP this morning on this night, and I have identified something like there was something is doing on, and I have identified all of these stuffs and I have mapped it properly. Your boss won't know that how you have done it so quickly, but you see the magic is already happening. So you are utilizing TRAM for traversing all those stuffs. You are presenting in this graphical representation of Attack MITRE framework, and you are building on top of it, right? So as you see, I have just downloaded that Excel format, and if I opened it, so you see there, right? So let me minimize it again. So you see there are sections, right? So it's like the blue section has been mapped for you, whatever was mapped by the TRAM tool, and you have just mapped this particular sucker is in yellow, right? So the work is done for you, right? Another awesome feature of like using Attack Navigator is, so you get by default a lot of like the threat attackers information here already. If you come here, you see software, then mitigation, you get a hell lot of stuff. Okay, now if you want to compare some of your threat intel platforms will already present information, so what you can do, you can like select this thing. You see these are selected. Okay, now if you come here and you select them, and probably you can color code them as per your need. So let's color code them as red, right? Now you see these are comparison, right? So this is how actually we use Attack Navigator. So you use first TRAM for your new Attack Navigator, like the threat intel platform or the threat intel resources that you might be working on. Let the tool do all the job for you, export the report in JSON format, and then upload it from here in Attack Navigator, and utilize this Attack Navigator feature to compare between your reports and between your samples and all those stuffs, right? So I'll say that you can particularly explore this tool by your own, but yeah, you got the idea, right? This is how actually the Attack Navigator can be used, and you can use this tool not only to create your like defend use cases and like map your whatever, like if you are working on a threat intel project or something like threat hunt hypothesis, you can use it anyway. One interesting thing though, so you see this is a particular IP address I am using. Okay, so this is a local IP address. Okay, this is not the one that Attack Navigator has been implemented on. I know Attack Navigator has their own repository and own instance running. So let's open that particular thing. If I say Attack Navigator, you will see they have a GitHub repo. Now you see if you open this particular thing, so this is open to public. Okay, so you can work on it, but the interesting part is that is always necessary for your security team to have it something in-house, right? Isn't it? So how you can utilize this particular Attack Navigator, you see the URL over here, and my URL is this one, right? So I'll show you that how you can actually have the Attack Navigator installed locally. And the most important thing is you need to know how to install this TRAM tool, right? So I have kept the hard part, actually the installation steps and procedures for this particular section at the end, so that you first understand what is the feature of this tool and you can play around with it, and you actually know, okay, this is something interesting and it can solve my purpose. Okay, so now let's install both of the tool and let's see this tool in action. Okay, so I have installed the fresh VM. I have prepared the fresh VM on AWS because I prefer to work on AWS, and I do not want to put hell lot of pressure on my local PC, right? So first let me log into AWS. So I have logged in. As you see, I have two fresh instances, one is TRAM and one is Attack Navigator. So both machines are Ubuntu machines. So first let's install TRAM and let me show you. Okay, so this is my public IP address. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come here to my VM machine, because this is the machine from where actually I need to do the SSH and stuff. Okay, so I believe my screen is visible. So what I do, I'll do a simply SSH -I, then my key information. So this is like the home basic stuff. Okay, Ubuntu, then @ my IP address. Okay, so this particular thing will allow me to connect through my instance. Yeah, so I am logged into the instance now, so let me clear up my screen so it's clear. So as if I do a quick ls-l, you see there is nothing installed on this particular machine. Okay, so the first step is obviously I need to update this particular machine, because that is the first step anyhow you need to perform. So it's getting updated. I believe it will be quick. All set and done. Okay, again I'll clear up my screen, and the first thing is that I need to dump that particular page from a git repository. Okay, so let me first show you where is the git repository resides. Okay, so if I play as MITRE TRAM, so it will give me the git repository which I need to particularly clone into my VM to install that particular thing. Okay, so this is the particular page. Don't worry about the page. I'll leave all the link in the description box below. You can come out from there. But yeah, this is the particular page from where you can get the TRAM tool and you can install. You can follow these steps, whatever is given in the installation, but bear with me because there are a lot of things that you need to focus on, and all of the stuffs are not given in this particular installation section. Okay, so let us go back to our terminal, and the first thing is that we need to do a sudo apt install git. Okay, because that's the thing first you need. Okay, so the next thing is that you need to clone this particular thing from here and paste it. So this is the page actually where we are basically cloning the TRAM. Okay, done. So if I do a quick ls-l, you see the TRAM is already there. Okay, so the next step is that I want to become a super user now. You can do it on your local machine as well, but I prefer to work on SU. So that's the thing. Okay, so the next thing is that always ensure what is the Python version that you are running, because for this particular tool you obviously need Python 3.7 up. Okay, so I have Python 3.8, so I am done on that. Okay, so the next step is that I am gonna install sudo apt pip, because that is also a requirement. Okay, so sudo install python 3 pip. Yes, because you see whenever you need to install some requirement file or those stuffs, you obviously need to run a pip -3 or something, or the requirement.txt, because that is the preliminary requirement which you need to comply to have the TRAM tool installed. Okay, so my pip has been installed now, and if I do a quick ls-l, you see I am having this requirement.txt section. Okay, so what I need to do now, I need to simply run pip3 install -r then requirement.txt. Okay, so this particular thing will pull down all of your requirements and all of those stuffs inside this particular VM. Now I see requirement already satisfied. That means my machine has already all those stuffs installed, but for your case you might be seeing if I scroll up a little bit, you will see this kind of thing, this kind of verbose command, and this kind of download section will be coming. And don't worry about it, it will take maybe a minute or something and it will be done. Okay, so let me clear up my screen again, and the next thing is that now it's quite simple at this point of time. So if I run a python 3 then tram.py, so that should actually run my application. Okay, so but I am assuming there will be an error, so let's try it first and let's see what happens. Okay, so now you see there is a resource which is not found. Okay, so this punkkt is not found in this particular location. I would say rather like in the requirement text, and this particular thing should have been included, but yeah, that's not been included, but that's not a problem. Okay, so you see this particular thing is searching in this directory and it is loading, trying to load this particular english.pickle. Okay, so let us include and let us import whatever we need for this particular requirement. Okay, so I'll do one thing, I'll simply create a file as like mkdir/root, because it is trying to find in that particular location. Okay, so I can simply copy this particular section and I'll paste it over here because I need to create that particular file. Okay, so I'll go inside to this particular file now, copy it, paste it, and boom, so I'm inside that file. Let me Okay, let me be inside that file. Okay, so I need to do a mkdir again because I need to create a file which is named as tokenizer. Okay, so I'll copy that thing and I'll paste it over here. So again, done. So what I'll do, I'll go inside to that tokenizer section. Okay, now let me clear up my screen. Now I am inside that folder and I need to dump that .kt for you. Okay, so now if you go to the browser and if you simply paste this particular link over here, again I'll leave the link in the description, don't worry too much about it. So it says that you can download this .kt zip file from this particular location. Okay, so that's the thing we are going to do now. So what I can do, I can simply go back to my terminal and I can simply do a wget. Okay, so let's do a quick wget and pull down that particular sucker into our machine. Okay, so it is pulling down, and if you see a ls-l, you see there is a zip file. Okay, you see it's a zip file. Now I am assuming there is no unzip format installed in my machine. So what I can do, I can simply write as apt install unzip, because that's required to unzip that particular file, isn't it? Done. Clear up the screen, quick ls-l and unzip this particular sucker. You see, unzip is done. So now what? Now you should go back to that particular location where TRAM was having and you simply run that Python command for you. Okay, so what was the file? We'll go inside cd home, then obviously it was inside Ubuntu, then inside TRAM. You go there, right? And one more thing also you need to do. Okay, so if you do a quick ls-l, you see there is a file called service. Okay, so I'll go inside that service folder, service, and then you see there is a file name called data.svc.python. Okay, now in this particular repository there was a similar bug that multiple people have actually complained about, and they have created a pull request and they have done something on this particular Python script. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna simply remove this particular data section and I am going to create a new thing. Okay, so from where I can create particular thing. So if I go to this location again, and you see it's the same repository wherever we have the Attack MITRE framework, but it's a different you can see it's a it's not the master branch. Okay, it's a other branch, and you see if you go inside the service section and if you just select this raw path and you just need to dump this particular whole screen and whole thing into your repository. Okay, so now what I am gonna do, I am simply gonna run vi data then svc.py. Be sure the name is same, otherwise it won't run. Okay, so I'll run it again and insert, and simply I'm gonna paste that particular thing whatever I have just copied from the web server. Okay, so I'll save that particular thing and I am pretty much done at this point of time. Okay, so I'll go back to my previous folder wherever I have my TRAM, and you see the TRAM is there. Okay, so let me clear up my screen now and let me do a quick ls-l. TRAM is there, so I do a python 3 tram.py. So you guys are ready? Let's hit the enter, and you see I am assuming this particular sucker is running. Okay, so how you can validate that thing whether it is running or not? Okay, so now what you can do, you can simply come to this particular section and you see it has a public IP address. Okay, so simply copy this public IP address and you see HTTP, then this IP address, then 9999, because TRAM is by default runs on this particular tool. Hit enter. I am assuming this particular thing will load, but let's see. Yes, it is running finally Awesome. So you see we have built the TRAM tool. Isn't it very awesome? Okay, so we have built the TRAM successfully. Now it's time to build the Attack Navigator locally, and let me show you how you can have your own Attack Navigator, that mapping tool, in your own house, and even you can install it on your VM, you can install it on AWS, doesn't really matter. But again, I'll use it on AWS and let me show you. Okay, so now we will choose our second sample, which is the Attack Navigator server. I'll copy this public IP address. I am back into the terminal, and this time simply I will change the IP address. Okay, so copy it, paste it, done. So it will log into my box. Yes, I am logged in. So let me clear up my screen, and if I show you ls-l, I do not have anything. So this is another fresh box that I have just pinned up. Okay, so the again first step, sudo apt-get update, because that's the thing you need to run on before like every installation that I will generally suggest you to run. Done. Clear the screen, and so again I need to install probably the git, because again I need to run that particular, pull down that particular repo. Okay, so install git. It's already installed, but yeah, that doesn't really matter. Now if I go back to the URL and if I show you to Attack Navigator, so what I'm gonna do, I'm simply gonna copy this particular page, and I'm gonna pull down this particular repo from this particular location. Okay, so from that I'll go back to my terminal and I'll hit git clone and then paste that sucker and done. Okay, so it will clone the repository over here and it is done. If I do a quick ls-l, you see Attack Navigator is installed. So I'll go inside Attack Navigator and I'll do a quick ls-l, and you see all the stuffs are there. Okay, so now everything, whatever you need to do, you need to be inside the Attack Navigator like nav app folder. Okay, so I'll go inside to the nav app particular location, and one thing is very important at this particular section, because you need multiple things. Okay, so let me go back to their repository, and if you see here, so this particular thing is only requirement is Node.js and Angular CLI, right? But if you by default install the Angular CLI and the npm tool from the machine, the update that we just run, you might end up running an outdated version. Okay, so follow these steps very seriously because it's very important. Okay, so the first step is that we need to install curl. Okay, so because we are going to pull down some other repositories also, so I'll install curl. Okay, so it's yes, I want to install you. Installation done. Okay, so I'll clear up my screen. Now follow this step very carefully. Okay, so I'm hitting a curl and I am giving this particular location because I want to pull down the recent npm package. Okay, so I'll leave the commands and everything in the description, so don't worry about it too much. So now it is installing the Node.js from the recent library. Okay, it is very important to run this particular tool. Okay, so now the thing is that, so we need to run this particular thing to install the Node.js particular version. Okay, so we'll follow it along and we will run this particular sucker. Okay, so I'll copy this one and I'll simply paste it over here. So it will run Node.js and it will install basically Node.js. So the first command, we pull down the Node.js repository from a particular location using curl command, and the second one is we are installing that Node.js. Awesome, done. So clear up the screen, and now you can just quickly check what is your node version, just to run by node version. It is current one, so awesome. And one thing is that you should also verify what is your npm version, because it has some dependency on the tool it has to run properly. Okay, so at this point of time you need only one more tool, which is the Angular CLI. Okay, so you remember that was only the another requirement of that tool. So we will run this particular command and I will let the Angular CLI to fetch from that particular npm directory and let it install. Yes, I want to change the settings or like send the update, so that doesn't really matter. But in the installation steps you will see something like this kind of warning and deprecation message. Don't worry about it too much. As long as you are pulling down the latest Angular CLI, you should be fine. Now at this point of time we are ready to install our Attack Navigator and run with it. Okay, so for that reason we will do a simple sudo and npm install. Okay, because that's the command will install your Attack Navigator on your particular VM or whatever may be the bare metal thing that you have chosen. Okay. Yes, so the installation is done. As you can see, it will try to identify some vulnerabilities, all those stuffs, but yeah, don't worry about it, because at this point of time we are not bothered about them. We are only bothered about to run that particular Saka. Okay, so let me clear up my screen now. And one more thing is also important, that you need to run particular post installation steps. Okay, so I'll run sudo npm run post install. Okay, so this is one thing which is very important, to patch your server before running. And ng, and also one thing is that node patch webpack.js. okay, so it is also important to run your tool successfully. So now we are ready to fire up our Attack Navigator. So how we can do that? We can simply write ng serve. Okay, so ng serve will create the server and do all the stuff for you. Now at this point of time you need to point that particular host, that on which location you need to run this particular thing. Okay, now if you go to their repository, they are simply saying that you can run ng serve and it will run on localhost like this thing, and 4200 is the Docker file. Now we are building everything on AWS, so we need to point to that particular location, because localhost is not the thing, right? Because we want to access the thing over the internet and over the browser, right? So you want to point this particular IP address at that host location, and I'll hit enter. So I am assuming that it will run successfully, so let's cross our finger, and I am waiting for this tool to run successfully. Okay, so it will throw you some messages like compiling all this Angular code and all those stuff. So it will take some time, because it is in the backend, it is preparing the server and to prepare everything that you need to run this Attack Navigator. Now this message is very important, generating browser application bundles. Now at this point of time you might think that the process is 60% complete. Let's wait for some time. Yes, now you see it is saying that your compilation is successful and generating browser application bundles. Okay, now once you see this browser application bundle is also successful, you will see that compiled successfully. So at this point of time you might point to your browser location on 4200 to check that out. Okay, so let's do that right away. So what is our IP address? This is our IP address, and I will go HTTP. I don't need S because I am not using anything, and I will simply paste that IP address, and you remember it is 4200 port. Okay, so I hope it should run. awesome. So we have built our another tool which is Attack Navigator locally, so you can follow along my steps and it will be done. It's like quite simple, right? Yeah, you see, so all those tabs, all those crazy things that you can create, all those tabs, opening existing layers, so everything has been populated. So our installation is successful now. Now at this point you might ask me that, hey, if I kill that particular shell, will that my application will still run? I'd say that it's a no, because if you kill that particular shell where you have actually running this, so it applies for both, like it applies for TRAM and it applies for the Attack Navigator. Okay, and so if you see here, if I just kill that particular command using like Control-C or something, because if I want to log out from my shell and everything, so the command will anyway be killed up, right? So now you see this particular thing is not only accessible now and it's not reachable. So there is a way by which you can keep this particular sucker running on your backend, maybe a startup script or something. Okay, so how you can use a startup script? It's quite simple. Okay, so you just hit that particular command what you have run, and at the beginning you use no-hop. Okay, so no-hop is the something, it will create a job for you and it will keep the process running at the backend, and it will create a file as nohop.out, which you can verify whatever your file is building up and whatnot, and ampersand sign to keep your process at backend, because we don't want to keep it front end, right? So you hit enter and you see there has been a process created. You see the process ID and ignoring input and appending all output. So now you can do all your steps, you can do all of the thing, and you see there is a file created as like nohop.out. okay, so if you simply cat it out, so you see there is a file nohop and out. Now you see it's the same message, it's getting populated, okay, generating browser application bundles and all those stuffs. So you can wait for some time like the way we have waited for the previous one, and the same thing will be up and running again. Okay, so I have just hit the cat command again, and as you can see, compiled successfully. So that means at this point of time our Attack Navigator should be accessible, and as you see it is accessible again. Now it doesn't really matter at this point of time if I kill this particular command section or if I log out from that particular box, my command will keep on running, right? So the only point is that your host machine, that's why I have hosted in on AWS. I could have hosted in my own VM also, right? But if I have hosted in on my VM, then probably if I killed my VM, that is mean my VM is shut down, right? So in AWS your system will be up and running. You can kill your shell, but at the back end, until unless your machine is rebooted or started something, the process will be running. Now if you want some kind of thing that way, I want all of this thing running even I reboot my machine, so you need to prepare a startup script. So you can Google it and you can search it. But yeah, so that's all I have to show you for this particular episode. I hope if you have enjoyed this particular section, and let me know whatever comment, whatever the queries that you have in your mind. But bear in mind, very critical, right? Because TRAM is such a tool which can basically remove all your pain points, all your stops from your manual job. It's quite a possible thing like shift left strategy, and it can automate all those stuffs for you. And Attack Navigator is a tool, right? If you are working on a threat intel platform or like creating hypothesis detection rule, doesn't really matter. But if you are working all those steps manually and maintaining hundreds of Excel, doesn't really matter, right? You can simply use this Attack Navigator tool and you can create multiple JSON files. You can create these Excel files from the tool itself, and it is very flexible as I showed you. So if you have any queries about this, handling this particular tool and how you can mainly operationalize this Attack Navigator and Attack MITRE, feel free to post that in the comment area. I'll be happy to answer. But yeah, remember, if you can operationalize your attack framework using TRAM and Attack MITRE, your life is easy peasy, right? Yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed the session. And hold on, before even leaving, have you hacked YouTube algorithm today? So you have to do all those YouTube stuffs like comment, like, share, subscribe, and what else? I guess that's all. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Stay healthy and stay tuned.